Hello, I'm Jay. I'm the technical animator here on the Heart of Mercy project for St. Luke Productions. And I thought I'd take you on a little guided tour behind the scenes of how we approach one of these scenes in the movie, the elements that are necessary to put into place and what we've been spending so much time on recently. This here is scene 58 that I've just been working on. And it is a scene in which Jesus gets badly beaten and Faustina has a vision of him as this is happening, and the two have a dialogue. It's a very powerful scene, and hence we want to get it right. So there's several stages that happen before I take on a scene like this. So we work with stand-ins, and this is our 3D world here. My colleague Julia sort of researches these locations and finds them as assets. In traditional filmmaking, you would literally go and location hunt and then do some preparation on the set so that you can use it for shooting. But in our case, we find 3D assets or 3D scenes that are sort of mainly there. We don't really find them that are 100% there, but we get some that are sort of 50-60% there, and then Julia has to sometimes kit bash them from different sets so that we can realize Leonardo's vision. So in this case, we wanted something that is sort of old world, looks Roman, and something that appears to her in her relatively modern world of the 30s. And this is not 100% there yet, but you can see the look that we're going for, and this is an iterative process, so there's still some things that need doing, like this crack here. We need to get rid of that, but in principle all these things are sort of building blocks that we can pick up, like these crates here. We can pick them up and then move them up or down, make them larger, smaller, turn them around, make them slimmer, make them longer, and so forth. And this can be done with literally all these assets. So like this this could be turned the other way, and we can literally put these things together from different sets. From the same set, we can go and copy them. So if we needed another archway in a different place, we could go and take that out and duplicate that and just make something like a row of arches if we wanted to do that. It's obviously not what we want to do right now, but this is what the scene building process looks like in principle. We also have foliage tools with which we can build great looking landscapes, and we also have visual effects here. So like in the background you can see something that is a bit foggy here. So that is, I think, a plane. And we can go and take that out, so sort of a fog effect plane, and move that forward like so. And as we then look through it, I suppose it's difficult to see because that's not quite strong enough. So I'm going to make it a bit stronger. So there we go. This is now more fog in the scene. It's also a bit too fast, so we can go and make that a little slower if we wanted to. Now it's less speed that travels there. And of course, and eventually we can go and see what that looks like through the camera. So this is Jesus being beaten, and the camera repositions until we get the correct look. So as this plays, and I'll show you the animatic in its current state, we go and fade from black, we fade in, we fade out, and then the repositioning we don't show, we fade in again, and we fade out. And this is sort of an interesting example of what happens here. And the fog, of course, that's not something, I think we were thinking about that, but I don't know if we're going to leave it in. It doesn't look that bad, I have to say. So I can go and in situ now go and make that more or less foggy and see what I need here to make that look good. So this is actually something that, while this looks good as we point the camera at it, if I take the camera away and just look at Faustina here for a second, you can see that Faustina isn't a 3D object. She's just a plane, and these are the cameras that are pointing at her. And as we move along, these objects, they animate. So the camera here would follow her as she goes and leaves the frame. I'd need to go and reposition the camera as she does that, nice and gentle. We also go and push in on her a little bit while that happens. And this is actually Leonardo's son here, as he's probably going to tell you about that. So this scene I was working on today because as Jesus gets whipped, we see him whipping, that's one plate, and then we see Jesus being whipped, but we didn't get the sensation that the whip of the whipper, who's clearly to the right of the frame, that's not really how it was shot. So really what happened is that these were two different things. So as we see this happening here, he whips him. They weren't in the studio together. Then he keeps whipping, and then he keeps whipping on here. We sort of see that his whip goes into the frame here, and it makes sense, especially when you see it together with the audio. But of course, that's not quite how it happened. So what I had to do is I needed to grab just the end of this shot, which is a woman that we see towards the end of the scene, whipping sort of as a wide shot. We just frame in this little bit here behind him and just put that in. So this is what we see on the camera, and as we change the shot, we actually go and cut to her, and this is when we see Jesus here and the whip going into the frame to sell the illusion. And this means a lot of work for me because I have to put the plates into position. I have to size them up. This is why we use all these 3D dummies here, so that I get the size correct and the relationship to how this needs to look. Then we go and have to do something about the visibility of these plates. So visibility means whenever the plate needs to show and whenever it doesn't show. That's these tracks. So red means it's not showing, green means it is showing. And if we have something like Jesus on the wide shot, we have a plate here that's him on the wide shot, but it mustn't be visible carrying on, because at that point it needs to be invisible so that the other plate of him being the close-up shot can be shot. So I can go and treat them size-wise individually. And each of these keyframes just takes an enormous amount of time to work out, and then iterate over that until we're happy. I'll go and show you this in the animatic in its current form, so that you can see how this looks like when we put the fades in. And yeah, that is our whipping scene. Oh yeah, and to see the woman here in situ, that is slightly later after the dialogue that they're having. Faustina says, all of a sudden I saw other people, lay people and people from all walks of life starting to beat Jesus, and this is what that is. So this is where we now see the woman. But every time we see a whip in vision, that is something that I just magically put in there after directions from Leonardo this morning. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate that, and thank you so much for your donations on this project that let us bring this movie to the larger audiences, because it's such a wonderful story. We really want all the world to find out about Faustina, the life that she had and the visions she had, and I'm just so grateful that I'm allowed to work on this project together with my colleagues. Thank you so much for watching. God bless and take care.